Hello and welcome to my channel, The Reading Therapist. I'm Amy Teague and I'm bringing you content all about reading, writing, spelling. I'm an academic language therapist and previously was a dyslexia specialist, so I do offer reading services and academic language therapy, and in this video I'm going to show you some of those pieces and what a direct and explicit multisensory program might look like. There's different ones out there. The one I use is an Orton-Gillingham based program. There's a lot of really good ones. I use Basic Language Skills. And so basically their whole research showed that multisensory education, a multisensory approach for students with dyslexia is essential to help them learn reading, because just the rote memorization and just using one sense just didn't work. So we use visual, we use auditory, kinesthetic, tactile, and make it as interactive as we can. Now my services are mostly virtual, so we're doing things online. So whether it's a physical chart, that we would use in the classroom, or whether it's a chart, digitally, it's doing the same thing. So speaking of that, so one of the things we work on is fluency. And that might be letter names starting at the beginning, depending on where the child is, where they are rapidly naming the letters. And then we may move to the sounds, where they're telling me the sound. Now, this would be after we've introduced those. So it's very much discovery based, and we want them to feel confident. So we're taking it piece by piece in a logical, structured method, according to the difficulty of the language, and we work our way up. And then it's cumulative. So we're reviewing what we've learned, we're learning new things, and it's all multisensory. So for a younger kiddo who may be just starting, we might be really working on just some small word parts. But for some older kiddos, it might be that we're practicing what's called final stable syllables. And so we're going through and reading and building that fluency and that automaticity that children with dyslexia really need, and children with reading in general. But children with dyslexia really struggle with that automaticity. So these word charts, we call it a rapid word recognition chart, but it's just the purpose of, taking 6 words or 6 parts, and then you're putting all throughout that chart those same 6, and you set a timer, and then you read through, and it builds that fluency. But again, it's not new information, it's what they know, and it's practicing that fluency. We do also work on spelling and learning new concepts. So we have a concept deck. This again, it was through Basic Language Skills, and so we're learning. We may be learning in one day D dog d. We may be learning a vowel pair or a consonant cluster. So within this deck, you have some patterns, you have the consonants, you have different vowel sounds, and you have those 6 syllables built in there as well. So we also teach the 6 syllable types. Okay, so we teach about open, where the vowel is long. We have closed syllable with our short vowels that end in at least one consonant. Vowel pair, we have vowel R, the R, or, all of those, vowel consonant E, and final stable syllable. So we go through those. We also learn when words aren't following patterns and they don't fall within a regular syllable type. And so when words aren't following the patterns or the rules, they go in the irregular deck, and we practice those, and we learn why they're irregular. And so that's really helpful for kiddos, that analyzing words and analyzing spelling helps with reading as well. And from that, we do also practice spelling, and we practice the regular, frequent ways that we spell. So for E example, the sound E, there are lots of ways to spell E. We have the digraph vowel pair EE. That's a regular, frequent way. That's one of the first ones we learn. You have E consonant E. Later, we have open syllable just E, like an equal spells E. And at the end of the word, you have vowel Y, like in penny, that spells E. But there are other ways to spell E, like EA and easel, that's not a regular, frequent way to spell E, so it doesn't go in, we don't practice that in spelling in that sense. It's going to go in our pink irregular deck. So it doesn't mean that it's incorrect spelling wise. We know we have to spell it that way, but we learn why it's not the most regular, frequent way to spell that sound. And so they're learning, the most frequent sounds to the irregular sounds, and it really helps by doing all of that analyzing of the language. And so, speaking of analyzing the language, we also get into morphology. Morphology is the study of those word parts that carry meaning, like your suffixes, your prefixes, your base words. And so we go through and learn different, vowel suffixes. And so, like vowel suffix ed, you have folded ed, sailed d, jumped t, and it means happened in the past. So we learn 3 sounds for vowel suffix ed. So imagine when you're spelling how difficult it is when a word like jumped has a t sound, but you have to spell it with ed. So those are things that we work on as well. Even though the English language sounds very complicated, and I used to always say, oh, it's one of the hardest languages, but the truth is it is mostly predictable. There is, there's a good percentage of the language that we can learn. We can teach the patterns and the different rules, and we have 5 rules in our language. There's only 5, and they're either doubling a letter, they're dropping a letter, or they're changing a letter. That's what those 5 rules do. So that's something else that we're working on, or learning those rules. We do learn cursive handwriting and the benefit of cursive for children with reading disabilities and with writing is that it's fluid. It's a fluid motion. So once you learn it, it really is more of a benefit to use than the print, which you're constantly lifting for each letter. I do also teach proper print formation. It is important to me, as a classroom teacher for a long time, I would get 4th and 5th graders who would start at the bottom and go up. And I would have to kind of reteach, with print, you always start up and work your way down. There's a proper way to hold your pencil, with the tripod, and it should be, the end of the pencil should somewhat be pointing to your writing shoulder, and we want the paper you're writing on to be parallel with your writing hand, and your non-writing hand, you want to anchor your paper. So those simple little details really do help with writing, and when we're not following those, it can make writing difficult. And if we're not forming our letters properly, it's just another obstacle. So that's why we teach the cursive, and that's why I also teach the print, because I do know that some children, no matter what, are going to choose to use print, but some of them really do enjoy the cursive, and their cursive handwriting is beautiful. We do get into with comprehension, just really understanding what we're reading. We know with dyslexia that the biggest issue is being able to decode the words, but it can also affect comprehension. So we work on that as well too, with questioning and visualizing strategies to help them see what they're reading and to be interacting with what they're reading. So they're not just reading the words, they're thinking about it, and they've got that picture going. So we have some good techniques for that as well. And then one of my favorite pieces is learning the history of English, all the way back to Old English, and then you have Middle English and Modern English, which is really when we started exploring, and you bring in the Greek influence up until today. So the kids really enjoy learning that, why words like knee and knife have a silent letter. So we learn about that with the Anglo-Saxons, how they would pronounce each letter. So it was knie, knife. They would actually say that. And then when the Latin and French came in, they didn't like the sound of that, so they made those letters silent, but we kept them for spelling. So things like that the students really love, and it's almost like, wow, I can't wait to share this with my family. So lots of good pieces. We also work, phonology. We know that's the root of dyslexia, is having a deficit in being able to hear those individual sounds, being able to tell me where that sound is. It is at the beginning, middle, or end, or initial, medial, final is what we say. Being able to manipulate, change the t in talk to w, to walk. That's difficult. So it's good exercise to practice those phonology skills, no matter how old they are, because that's at the root of dyslexia. Segmenting sounds, we use just the sound boxes. So in a word like fish, sh, it has 3 phonemes, 3 individual sounds, And then the grapheme is F for F, I for I, and SH for sh. So SH is one grapheme that represents that one sh sound. So this is great for spelling as well. So that's just a little tidbit of some of the pieces. I'm sure I'm leaving off some, but just to get an idea. And, you know, if you have a child with dyslexia or just reading difficulties and you're looking for reading therapy, reading services, academic language therapy, please visit my website at www.amyteague.com, or you can look up the Reading Therapist and you'll find me that way as well. And you can learn more about my services, a little bit more about reading in general and dyslexia. And if you enjoy this and you want to learn more and get more resources and more ideas for, you know, even if you're a homeschool teacher or a parent at home that wants to work with your child or learn more, hopefully I can be helpful for that. So please subscribe, and I really appreciate you stopping by my new channel, and I'm excited to go along this journey with you. Bye.